being being raised by a stepdad. Like, I mean, I don't call him that. I don't look at him as that. I don't refer to him as that because that's not who he is to me. But if you want to look at the technicalities, he is my stepdad. He has been my dad since I was 1 or 2 years old.
So that's all you know.
That's all I know. That's my dad. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know of my biological father, but we have no relationship. I know exactly where he is. I know exactly where he lives. I still deal with my aunts, his sisters. We have a somewhat of a relationship, not as probably as good as it could have been, but that's my fault, not theirs. Because once you live in your reality and you live in the reality that, hey, this is my dad, this is my mom, this is my family, it's hard to connect with people who don't identify with them.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like
that's a big thing for real.
That is hard to connect with that. So it's like my parents, they never kept me from them. Yeah. They never said anything about not wanting me to be around them. They've encouraged it. But the fact is, when you're young, you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm. And my comfortability is with the people that I know, the people that I live with, the people that's raising me, the people that I've been with my whole entire life. Mm-hmm. So trying to include them is almost awkward at this point.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? So although I love them, I identify, like I got one that lives here. She calls me periodically. We talk. I love hearing from her. But it ain't like me talking to my Aunt Glacia.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
My mother's sister.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Or my Uncle Ernest. Mm-hmm. My dad's father. You know what I mean? I mean, a brother. I'm sorry. My dad's brother. Like, I identify with them a different way because they've always been considered family my whole entire life. Mm. So, it's and that's just coming from the perspective of being a stepchild.
Yeah.
But I'm also...
So being a child being raised by a step-parent.
By a step-parent, right. So...
That's cool, because that gives us insight.
Absolutely.
Into our son, being an adult now, and he can actually reach out or, kind of flow, move how he want to move. Like, he's always had the freedom to do so. But it's interesting to hear just your perspective and that they've never kept you from, being around them. No. And then it's not like there's any animosity. Feeling in your heart, right? Like no animosity, no type of feeling. Because I think for us as parents, or for me as his mom,
right?
Those are things I've always thought about. You know what I mean? Was just like, when he gets older or when he becomes an adult, what will his choices be towards his bio family? Right. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. How will it go? Will he feel away? Will he, you know what I mean? Right. Even though we've never planted that, but there's still like this thing in my mind of just like, dang, what will that be like? How will he feel? Will he feel any type of way or, anything like that? So absolutely. It's cool to hear that from that perspective.
Because Jay really he hit it right on the head even for us with our situation. Because one thing that I always did with our son was I always encouraged him to reach out to his biological side. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? See, they don't even understand. I was what is it called? I was advocating when I was the advocate. Right. Hey, son. Because here's what I never wanted. I never wanted him to resent me, resent his mother.
Right.
For feeling like we cut him off from that side. Mm-hmm. So I was very intentional on certain holidays, on Father's Day.
Right.
Hey, man, you call your biological today? No. Give him a ring.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because, but I'm doing that for him. Right. I ain't doing that for nobody else. Right. I'm doing that for the benefit of him.
Let me ask you a question about that. Mm-hmm. How often did the biological reach out to him?
Never, really. We talking about the boy been alive for now 20 years. Probably 3.
And see, that was my situation. Mm-hmm. My dad never had to encourage me to reach out because we didn't even know where to reach.
See, that's the thing. That's a real thing.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, that's the other side of it. You can encourage him, but it doesn't make sense for him to have to do it because as a child, why am I reaching out to somebody who never reaches out to me?
And that's good. Mm-hmm. From our perspective, he may not have been very involved, but his side was involved. His mother was involved. You know what I'm saying? So I was intentional in the way of just making sure, 1, for that resentment thing.
Yeah.
2, for when we went to court for that adoption, and that adoption was contested, you know what that judge said? Have your biological, does he have any contact with you? Or you know what he said?
What's that?
He said, I talk to him when my dad tell me to call him. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He told the judge when
I call my bio when my dad tells me to call.
I call my biological when my dad tells me to call. Oh, so your dad pushes for you to do that?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Major. Strike in the right direction.
That made such a huge
impact.
Case closed. It was case closed, boy. No, real deal though.
Yeah, that's real.
Because it wasn't, and like I said, man, I wasn't doing it out of no type of
like
premeditated motivation of that. Yeah. I really just wanted to intentionally make sure that he knew for when he turned 19, 20 years old, he can always say, my mom and my dad never kept me from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was important for us, man.
That's I can feel that too. I think just in terms of being a stepmom, that's one of the things that I also kept in mind. Just like I would say frequently, I'm not trying to replace your mother. I am just in addition to your mother.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like I will never be her, and I'm not trying to be her. So your experience with me is not going to be reflective of whatever she gives you, because I'm not trying to duplicate that.
Wow.
I'm just wanting to be here for you in the way that I can. You know what I'm saying? But I am very aware that you have a mother, and that's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's fine. You don't have to feel like you have to, because as they were growing up, sometimes they would feel like almost torn.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And I did not want to put them in a position to where they felt. So sometimes I would just fall back. Even if I felt like they were preferring me, because I knew the situation and the dynamic, I would step back and allow her to take the floor. I'm allowing you to take the floor. Because what I have is not for the lights, camera, action part. What I impart in my connection to them is for life. It's for what's going to carry on with them. So if you get honored in this moment, that may be necessary either for you or for them or for y'all together. And I'm okay with being in the background.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? For the sake of.
Absolutely. That's real. Well, I'm fortunate enough to experience it from both perspectives.
Yeah.
Being raised by someone that's considered a stepdad, I'm gonna say that in all respect to my father, because he is dad.
Yeah,
that is dad all day long. And
so, at this point in your life, do you have communication with your biological father now, or you getting there?
So, quick story. No, don't have any communication because the one thing I wanted to do before I left this earth, or before he left this earth, was I wanted him to know he at least meet and introduce him to his grandchildren. So we did go years and years ago. It was probably about 10 years ago. We did go, we're from Ohio. So we went to Ohio and ran into some of my family, went to visit some of my family. And they told me that he was still living in my grandmother and grandfather's house. Now, I know if my grandmother and grandfather was alive when I got older, I would have probably been a lot closer to that side of the family. But because they died when I was young, that is what kind of disrupted the communication. Okay. So, I mean, even his brothers, they used to give me money. Like when I would see them, they always broke me off. Like it was never any bad blood between us and the family. Now, if you talk to my dad, I think he got a couple stories between him and, my biological that might, raise a few eyebrows, but it was never on his part.
Yeah.
But, we did take the kids one time, probably about 10 years ago. We took the kids. I just wanted him to know, hey, this is your grandson. This is your grandson. This is your granddaughter. And, when I got there, my dad is a natural, he's an introvert, my biological father.
Okay.
He's an introvert. So when we got there, like, you can tell that he doesn't come out much.
Okay.
So, and I kind of realized that's why it's important. Why are you doing what you're doing and having your son, talk to the biology? Because sometimes you just need to know your DNA.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm a natural introvert.
It's important.
If I didn't have her, I'd probably be in the house. Like, it would be hard for me to come out because I have become extroverted because of my wife. Because of her personality and her drawing it out of me. But in terms of natural, like, it's easy for me to be in the crib and chill and just be a part of my environment and not have to deal with anyone.
Right. So you were able to see where that came from. You met your DNA. So how important was that identity?
It was everything to me because I was always thinking that something was wrong. This is before introvert became a term. You know, we just now starting to really talk about introverts. But back then, you're talking 10 years ago, it wasn't really a conversation. You know, they might
what it was. He shy? Or,
right, there you go. It's like, oh, he just weird. Or, oh, he just not a people person. And no, being an introvert is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
I identified with it immediately when I seen him and I saw that, you know, it was different. It was eye-opening.
Wow.
Ever since that day, 10 years ago, I hadn't spoke to him. And probably it was 10 years before that I spoke with him again. So we have probably every 10-year type relationship.
Wow.
And I'm not mad at that.
But that's okay.
And it's so okay because this is my thing. Again, my wife has a personality of my dad, the one who raised me. He's very extroverted. He doesn't know a stranger. He's very welcoming and friendly. Always has the best advice. He doesn't judge you. I grew up with that. I learned from him the best. That's how I consider him. It was not meant for Earl to raise me. That's my biological father's name. We're going to call him his name. Earl wasn't meant to raise me. It was God's plan.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Now, his DNA was needed to create the person that I am today.
Yeah.
But he couldn't have a hand in God.
That's a real thing.
Very real.
He couldn't have a hand in that. Because if he had a hand in that, there's no telling what I would be or who I would be.
Yeah.
So it took Lloyd Coleman to raise me, bring me up, teach me his ways, give me his last name, show me my heritage, show me who I am in order for me to be the man that's standing before you. And that's just a real thing.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is it also prepared me for when I met her.
Wow.
To be able to raise my son. Andrew. Because we were in the exact situation.
How old was Andrew?
2
2
years old when I came into his life. And, you know, his father unfortunately had some, went away for a little while. And he never, again, it was never an issue. It was never, our dynamic is a little different because he was never an issue. He never, it was, I don't, and it would take Amy to tell this part of it, but I don't think he had a, not wanting to see his son moment, or not wanting to deal with his son. I think he just couldn't deal with his son. And here it is, another man that's in the way or in between that's actually doing that for him. So he never had to worry.
And it was by design, too.
It was by design.
That was God designed, too. Jason needed to raise Andrew.
Absolutely.
Jason,
Absolutely.
and I will say that from the hilltops. I will shout it out. Jason needed, it was by design. God strategically designed that for us because now Andrew is older. He lives in the same state with his dad.
Yeah, they have a relationship.
They have his bio, and they are building a relationship.
Absolutely.
Right?
More of a friendship.
It's a friendship right now, but they're building something because he has to know who he comes from too.
Absolutely.
He has to know his bloodline and everything. But I didn't need to raise my child in Indianapolis at all, and I didn't need to have outside noise raising my child. It was the perfect design. God strategically, the perfect design happened with us because my son was had a father who was at the basketball games, a present one. When Andrew had pneumonia at 7,
I was in the hospital.
He was in the hospital with him. Didn't leave the hospital. When he came home, catered to him. He needed to see that in his life. Like he needed to see that. He wouldn't have saw that where I was. I would have been a single parent, raising them. Really, my family, right? I would have never raised them. I would have never got Andrew back. He would have been my aunt's, older women who cater
house
to little boys.
Right.
House to house.
Feeding them everything.
And if they doing any type of negative behavior,
let them be.
So he's just a boy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then he's charismatic too. Andrew's very charismatic. So like, he has the personality. He could talk to anybody. So yeah, he would have got over, and then he would have been selling drugs. So that was the line. That was, I mean, he would have been selling drugs because he would have been following somebody else because he had no dad at home where he would have known that he can make his own decisions. Right? Like, so that needed to happen. So now that he's an adult, now he can go in that environment.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Right, because you have a foundation.
Right. Yeah. He's prepared for that environment. He's prepared to maneuver in that environment. Now.
What were you about to say, babe? You were speaking up. You don't remember what you were about to say after I was saying that I thought that it was important for me to kind of navigate how I was between me and your children's mother. Like sometimes I took the low road.
I think you did a great job, but I think as you guys are talking, what I'm realizing is that I too was kind of forced into a stepfather position. One by way of my niece, but second by way of my eldest son. When we found out he wasn't mine, his mom and I made a decision that we weren't going to tell him until he was older.
Right.
Because if you tell an immature kid a mature situation, they're going to handle it immaturely.
Absolutely.
So we found out he wasn't mine when he was, 6, 7?
6.
6. But he ended up finding out when he was 12. So 6 years later, he ended up finding out. And we had both agreed that he was going to find out when he was
18.
Like 18, 19, after he had graduated high school, after we got him across the stage. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, it's crazy, man, because as soon as he found out I wasn't his biological, he retreated. And I found myself chasing, trying to build, trying to create memories, trying to keep the inclusiveness that we had been working all this time for the same. It just did not work out that way. So it became something like what Jay was talking about. There would be years that go by of, you reach out, and there's no response. After a while, you just, okay, well, let me give him the space. So every time we would meet up, it would be for, family pictures, or, there would be times like as he got older, before you know it, he's 18, 19 years old, and our times of interaction was far in between because I still had his brothers and sister that I had to raise as well. So, but when we did sit down and talk, my mom was saying this, and it was always a reason or a justification on why there was such a disconnect, and I couldn't force myself on it. So to protect my sanity, because it's like all I've known, this is Anthony Adams Jr.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
You got my name.
Right.
You carry my namesake.
It was torture for me, and it took me to a place where I was like not present for the other ones, and I had to catch that quick and make the adjustment. But I was put or forced into
That's a very interesting perspective, and I don't think I've never looked at your perspective in that way. You know what I'm saying? So that's a very interesting.
Not as deep. I remember when we were deciding whether or not, like, once we found out he knew, I was like, babe, hey, let me know what you want to do, because I'm moving how you moving. Either way, I'm going to continue being what I've been, which is a step parent. At this point, you'll just be being, you'll join me, and we will continue on. But I didn't really think mentally and emotionally, I didn't think in depth of how that would affect him, from having to shift and thinking, you are my namesake, to, okay, I can be your father. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really deep.
Because in my mind, that's my son.
I know.
But how we were moving, it wasn't, I would literally try and make or create
An atmosphere
for engagement with him, and it would be like literally just he was a kid.
Yeah,
so
it was heavy for him too.
He handled it like a kid who was given authority as an adult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like when your kids do something, you can say, "Sit down, be quiet." Well, that privilege was taken from me. Mm-hmm. So it was like, well, what am I gonna do? I can't force it on them.
Right.
So it was pretty hard, and it's gotten better because he's grown now. But there's a lot of regret because I wish things could have been better in that situation. And I also, because of my story and my background, I wanted to make sure his father had an opportunity to be present. And I called him, and he pretty much said, "Bro, I got my own thing going on.
You got it, bro.
You got it, big dog. You do what you do. I'm gonna do what I do. I already got kids." So it was like tough for me because I'm like, I'm trying here, but I'm not getting it's a lot of resistance.
It seemed like from every side.
And from every angle, but it was like there was a lot of, hurt perspectives from different sides that were brought up, and it was bad. It was bad, and it's still developing.
Do you think it would have mattered, or do you think how different do you think it would have been if he would have found out as an adult?
Much differently. He would have succeeded at a lot of the things that he wanted to succeed at sooner. Because that was the only thing I was concerned about. Making sure you get across the finish line, making sure that you develop, making sure that you have a fair chance.
I think
would have helped too.
Yeah,
more too.
Absolutely, because by that time, all of the love and all of the me showing up,
the foundations would have been established
louder than anything of a shock.
Yeah. Let me play devil's advocate here, because I think I get where you were trying to go. That could have also went another way, and I just thought about it as you were talking, because we were just talking about identifying, and knowing that as your sons, your biological sons, look like you and act like you. They emulate their father.
Right.
He doesn't. He doesn't, and he doesn't emulate you in those ways. And in his mind, you never know what was going through his mind. And at 18, he might have been more hurt than at 12. And the reason I say that is because he's like, man, this whole time I've been dealing with these feelings and trying to process what was going on because I wasn't identifying. And now I'm an adult, just walking into adulthood, just stepping in that arena. And now you drop this bomb on me.
I think the love is more of a guarantee. The ifs and all the other stuff is more speculation. It could have went this way. It could have went that way. But I think me being present and me being the love would have saturated all of the fear, all of the anxiety of, man, you just dropped this big bombshell. Now, he did go through a lot of that stuff because people were unintentionally mean.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this one looked like you. That one looked like you. Okay. Now, this one, he looked more like his mom.
6 more years of that, though.
Yeah.
It could have caused pain, anxiety, depression, and all type of other things.
And I agree. It definitely could have. It definitely could have went that way.
People are mean, and people are
unintentionally.
Unintentionally.
Don't know how to say stuff.
People.
Right. We all do it. I mean, we don't mean any harm, but boy don't look that like you. And that's playing in his mind.
My thing or my response to that would be that had he not been introduced to that information at the time, he would have.
It was the way he was introduced to the information.
Yeah. So we could have, even if we grew together, we could have been able to, as we're identifying, because we're paying attention to our kids. Like I talked about, we put our kids in therapy as we were seeing different things. Like, oh, you need therapy to deal with that. Oh, you need that. Okay, you need to talk to somebody about that. Then we would have been able to address it in a way where he can be coached and not just,
it would have been healthy.
Right.
It was a healthy.
And he didn't get that. Thing. That opportunity was unfortunately taken from him. And so he had to deal with it however he could, which was practically trying to survive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because he was already kind of, like Anthony said, feeling those feelings, going through those motions.
And I was the cleanup guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's smoking. He got to come over here with you. Oh, he did this. Oh, he needs you to do this. Oh, so even the time before even after he found out, it was always here you got him. All right, now you ain't got him no more. Here you got him.
And you got to come in with the discipline and not, I got to come in when strong discipline is needed and not when the love and you know what I mean? So it's hard to receive the love when they normally bring you in so you can go heavy on the discipline.
You're the enforcer now.
Right.
So, and it was really hard being that because I had to be, because I'm having to fix something I didn't break.
Right.
Yeah.
While trying to evaluate, how did he get here? How did he do this? But it's like in that moment, there's no time for me to look at how or why.
It's just
it's just
you just gotta
move. You
just gotta get in and you gotta respond to whatever was brought your way. So that's definitely a situation that I had to give to God, and I'm trusting Him with it to this day.
Yeah.
As far as hey Lord, you love them more than I do. You love all my children more than I do. So it's like, what's going to happen, Lord, I'm trusting you with it. Yeah. I don't know if there's going to be somebody, all types of stuff that happened. Look at y'all's situation. You didn't know you was going to meet Jason.
Right.
But God knew exactly what he needed. God knew exactly what God knew Jason didn't need Earl.
Right.
Yeah.
So he provided Lord. So I'd be a fool to get so involved with that part that I don't allow God to be who He is, because sometimes we can subconsciously try to take God's place. And I had to be very mindful of that. But what made me mindful of it was all the hurt, because I took everything personal. Why he ain't calling me? I text. Why it take him 2 days to text me back and different things like that. And then you start drumming up scenarios. His mama must be saying this, the grandma must be saying this, the cousins, the auntie, the friends, whatever, may be saying X, Y, Z. And sometimes it may not even have been that.
Right.
But because you're so
emotional,
I want this to be a good thing, the enemy has a tendency to play off of your vulnerability. So you just got to be very you know what? Lord, I trust you. You got it. Let me not put my all into that.
That makes me think about even how I grew up. Like, my older sister was not my mom's biological child. She was my dad's biological, but my mom raised her.
Wow.
And it makes me think about, like, because she was there when we were born.
Right.
So she's all we know, but we're not all she knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she still had a relationship with her biological family and stuff like that. And if I think about it from the perspective, like, our dynamic, we never saw her being treated differently. We never saw, like, it was just like all inclusive. We never saw anything that was separate. I remember my younger siblings, my younger sister just recently told me at the age that she found out that our older sister wasn't my mom's child. And I was like, dang, I didn't know that. So most of her, like, growing up, she didn't know. There was a difference. But when we became adults, we started to find out a lot of the things that my older sister was dealing with here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And in here that we never considered. Yeah. Like, it was never talked about. It was never, like, brought up. Like, not that I know of. Yeah. You know what I mean? So even to hear, like, just the different perspectives like that, or even just, like, I know my mom was open about, communicating with her, with her bio mom, making, trying to, communicate, because she was just, not as easily accessible as she would have wanted her to be. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Understood. For the sake of my sister, you know? So maybe I think there were some dynamics that was happening, but we were not exposed to that as children. So when we became adults, it was very hard for us to deal with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because she started to change and started to evolve, and be a little more isolated and be a little more detached. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was really hard for us. So I feel like if we were able to, I don't know, because I know it's kind of sensitive to be a part of the dynamics of your sister has her family, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And still be inclusive
and be okay.
And it'd be fine. Yeah. Like, I don't know what I don't think my parents were mature enough to
are any of us
to articulate that. You know what I'm saying? To us.
I didn't to recognize it. To recognize that she was going through something. Like it was signs way before she got an adult. You just not equipped to recognize those signs.
And I think when I think back, I feel like there were. I remember times of her just alone crying. I remember times where she did talk to her biological mom, and she would hang the phone up and run to her room. Like I remember those moments. You know what I mean? But not. It wasn't. I guess enough. It was just kind of like, oh man, like something's going on. But all right, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of moving. But it's like as we became adults, it was so heavy in our family dynamic that it did a lot of damage. You know what I mean? In severing us, and we weren't able to put those pieces together to even understand, you know what I'm saying, from that perspective, and really be able to speak from a mature place of like, man, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand what was happening. And not be able to communicate it. You know what I'm saying? Like
so she could have taken it as if you guys were dismissing that she had a whole other
I believe so.
Like legit. And start resenting you guys because it wasn't
acknowledged. That's what, and I think that's what rings in my head now is because it wasn't acknowledged by y'all. For her. You know what I'm saying? That's serious. Who I am mattered. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to y'all life matters. You know what I'm saying? But what about who I am in this scenario? That mattered too.
Connection.
Right.
It's like y'all got a happy family, sister, brother, mommy, daddy.
Right.
But I've got a whole situation and nobody's paying attention to that.
Or absolutely. It could be just the identification part. Like when she looked at your mother, she doesn't see herself.
Right.
But when she looks at her sisters, she sees mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm calling her mom, but I don't have that connection. I don't know the connection or not, but it's possible that she didn't feel the connection. She knew dad. I see myself in dad. I see them in dad. But the most important part to a young lady, to me, in terms of relationship, is the relationship with your mother, especially when they're younger. Yeah. Because they're teaching them everything.
Yeah.
So when Amani looks at Amy, she sees a spitting image of herself.
Yes,
you get what I'm saying? So
the fundamentals with that.
And we even dealt with, like, I know you brought up when you play devil's advocate about, when you're amongst people or, family, like, oh, you look like this, I remember those moments too. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, it was always the, well, shit, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like I remember those moments too. And I can't even imagine what that must have been like in here.
Right.
That wasn't even, we didn't even consider that like that. You know what I mean? Like looking back at that, it's like, that's a lot.
Right. You know that on top of probably why am I?
Of what?
What was her age? Your sister's age when all that, like, around what age was she when you guys were born? Because she's like what?
Oh, she was, let's see, she's 4 years older than me. Okay. So,
she was cognizant.
So, she was very aware. She was very aware. Because I think when she was born, she was kind of back and forth, you know what I mean? Like from her bio family to our, to my mom and my dad.
Gotcha.
And so by the time she was about, I want to say 4 or 5 is when she was there with them fully. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I was born.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So she had my parents, you know what I'm saying? To herself until I
and that's
arrived.
a big deal.
It is.
And then I was gonna say, and then the interaction that goes back to kind of why we did what we did with our kids, because it's like there's a distinct separation between my mother and her side,
right,
and then my father and his wife, and you know what I'm saying, and then the kid, and my siblings. So there's a distinct difference. And as a kid, you're probably, some of those phone calls might have been, her trying to either get over there, or maybe her trying to, why don't y'all come over here? Or how come you just can't come see me? And not being able to understand or comprehend why we can't just be. That's very real. Frustrating and overwhelming for a kid, on top of all the other emotions we're identifying. So that was pretty heavy. On top of that, then you go, and then life is happening. So you're having kids because she had all her kids. And then she's watching you guys live life. And, the other dynamics start to happen. Yeah. It's really serious, man. But I would say kudos to Mama V for at least doing what she knew to do, which was, I'm going to be as consistent as I can. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Until I can't.
Until I can't.
You know what I mean? Yeah. As a step parent, that's really all we can do. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try and be as firm of a foundation for you, be here, be available as much as I can until you can choose not to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Once Trail left to go to the Navy, like, I had to kind of think to myself, this could very well be where our relationship takes a turn. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been very present in his life because I'm in his face. Right. But now, you know what I'm saying?
You don't have to be. Now
he got a choice.
You could really choose to dive in on the other side, because he was at our house like 98% of his life. So for 19 years, 98% of that 19, you're with me. Right. And him. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're who you see the majority of the time. And so now you could say, I just want to explore building with my mom. Yeah. And that's a realistic thing that I would have to sit with.
It's okay. But so you would have to sit with it.
But I would have to sit with it.
Have you thought about that, or process how you would deal with that, though? Because sometimes that can be hurtful. Because it's like, I put in a lot of work.
Put in this work.
I put in a lot of time. Yeah. I've been to a lot of doctor's appointments and a lot of PTA meetings. And now all of a sudden, I'm just nobody.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. I've tried to put myself in, you can't really prepare, but I've put myself in different situations and scenarios, and I'm grateful for my dad too, like Absolutely. You said, because I grew up watching my dad be a step parent.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Wow. And so he is like the epitome to me. He's the epitome of an example, because people did not even know. I'm talking about, I'm a grown adult, almost 40, and people are still like, dang, them ain't Wayne's kids.
Right. Yeah.
Because he did such an amazing job, while at the same time still giving room and leaving the door open for their fathers. You know what I'm saying? My sister's father, my oldest sister's father, transitioned, but even until the day of his transition, the door remained open. Yeah. My oldest brother's father, he's still living, you know what I'm saying? But my dad welcomes his grandfather in, you know what I'm saying? So my oldest brother's grandfather, that's my granddad, it's Granddaddy Lewis.
Yeah.
It's Faraji's granddad, but he's our granddad. Right. Because my dad showed us how to really make community. And that's probably why I probably went like super ham, with the and being inclusive with your baby mama, because it's like all I've seen is
we want harmony,
making it work. Yes, making that.
I think that most definitely played a huge part in us as well, in our dynamic. But I want y'all to see something, and this is the crazy part about the world we live in. Every last one of us have some form of dynamic where there's a step parent involved.
Yes, sir. Majorly.
But if every last one of us in this room has that dynamic, imagine what the rest of the world
is going through it. Yes, sir.
Imagine how many single mothers are out there that need step up Brian's and Jason's and Constance and Corinne's and Anthony's. And you got guys out there that will date the mothers.
Yeah.
Or the father, or women that will date the fathers. And will never commit to being a parent to those children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the word is, I could never take care of somebody else's child. That irks me. Because why even date her?
Right.
Why even waste her time? Why even deal with it?
Yeah, she's not looking for a boyfriend.
Right,
Yeah.
she looking for somebody to be.
But I'm about to play devil's advocate
Talk to me.
because if you see that characteristic in that person, why have them around you?
But sometimes they don't discuss. They don't. A lot of guys are good at sending their representative.
Especially with first impressions.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, their representative is real.
and you know what? I can't speak.
You
I
don't
ain't
see
been
the
on a
real
date
till after they
yet.
hit.
Right. You know, all of a sudden, they get
Hey Jay, I like that term. You
Like
said
Snoop
guys
Dogg, I
will
don't like
send
your,
their representative.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
That's
He
major.
kicked over his sport.
He does that with Rodney. You gotta pull the Rodney. I don't like you either, little nigga.
But you know what? I want to add.
I ain't his daddy.
I want to add to the point of what you guys were talking about when you're saying, you had an example of what a step parent was.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Our situation, I didn't have an example of what a step parent represented to a child and how a step parent interacted in a child's life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that put me in a position to deal with a lot of step parent insecurity.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of guarding myself from rejection.
Because of no
Gotcha.
reference.
Guarding myself from, at any time his family can reach their hand into
Right.
this dynamic and stir my pot
Yeah. Yeah.
very easily.
Yeah.
Power
You know what I'm
of
saying?
bloodline.
The power of blood, the power of bloodline and the attraction of DNA is a real thing.
It is.
It's a magnet.
It
Don't lie.
is.
So as a step parent
On both sides.
who didn't have that example, I was
Wow.
dealing with all of that organically.
Yeah.
So I was
Learn on
having
the
to
job.
figure it out. I was
And in real
training
time,
on the
'cause you're
job
in the
in
situation.
real time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, being a step parent, one, I dealt with insecurities of that hand that can reach into my dynamic and easily disrupt our dynamic that we're building so consciously. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Two was, the where are my boundaries?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Because, I'm going to respect her, you know what I mean? But I'm also, I got a certain level. Now, one thing I did have an example of, I didn't have an example of a step parent, but I had an example of a father who was
Right.
very active.
Yeah.
So I knew how to be an active father.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
That's
coming into the situation, I knew how to be an active father.
Absolutely.
I might not knew how to be a stepfather,
Right.
but I knew how to be a daddy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They one and the same.
Yeah.
Because
And
when you're a true
Father.
step parent or whatever you want to call it,
There's no
there's no differential.
There's no differential.
There's nothing in between. that tells you,
Differentiation.
I'm a parent.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, when you're coming in with no reference,
I get.
you don't understand that.
And outside influences.
And outside, you know
Because you
what
might
I'm
have your
saying?
partner in your ear, like,
Yeah.
man, so how you,
Yeah.
so it could be a lot of dynamics with that, and I get it.
Yeah.
Or two, you spoke on boundaries because I remember, you know what I'm saying? I remember coming in, there was no separation for me, so I come in bringing all that I am,
Right.
being a mother.
Mm.
And in my house, in our house, this is how we do things.
That's it.
And this is what you will do. But then I quickly realized those boundaries, those blockers where, you know what I'm saying, their mom is coming in like, you don't do that to my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, because they're here. So what does that mean? So then we had to talk through it. You know what I'm saying? And that became a sore spot for us even because while he's trying to establish firm ground, like I just want to make sure that she don't flip out so I can keep seeing my boys.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
But I'm like, I need to get some structure and order over here.
Structure and order.
So trying to navigate around those boundaries and even trying to establish what those boundaries are, like hearing Anthony say, don't whoop the kids, and I'm like, oh, but I whoops the kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So just
You
really
old
trying to, because
She
that's what I
always been
grew
a
up.
whooper.
I've always been a whooper.
Right.
Y'all know I whoops the kids.
That's right.
But no abuse. No abuse.
No abuse.
Of course not.
Yeah, and for the sensitive folks, that's what I was gonna say the last time. for the gentle parenting and old school is circumstantial. For me, old school don't mean child abuse.
Yeah. Right. Like that is circumstantial.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Like old school parenting don't mean child abuse.
Giving definitions to things. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's your story. He threw hot water on you, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm praying for you.
Right.
But that's not our story.
Right.
Because there was, I wish I could see their kids.
Yeah.
They're really good kids.
We got receipts now.
We
got receipts.
I'm
Super good.
gonna be like,
What you gonna be like?
I made sure I got that close up.
I will say this, and this is just for this group. We all have to tailor our thoughts. People are going to have their opinion.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
They can think whatever they want to think.
They can.
But we're going to eventually do a show where our families are you're going to see all our children are well-rounded.
Yeah.
All our children are on the right path. All our children are on the playing field to be successful.
Right.
That's a no-brainer.
Right. Yeah.
Just like I had some people, might have touched their nerve a little bit about me saying we put ourselves first. I stand on that statement.
Right.
Yeah.
We put ourselves first because if we don't put ourselves first, our kids suffer.
but these are probably people who didn't come in acknowledgement at all with their parents.
Absolutely.
So we can't compete with somebody we don't know.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing.
People who watch the moment of the show,
Right.
not the whole show.
That's right.
Go to our YouTube.
Get the context.
Right.
The context is king.
That's it.
Go to the YouTube.
Watch the whole
show.
I don't
That's the whole point.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a gentle parent, and sometimes I think it's hard to be around gentle parenting. So I'd rather just remove myself. You know what I'm saying? When I see like a child telling their
Shut up,
mother,
Linda.
no, yelling
No,
at them,
Mom.
or like falling
How do you be
out,
gentle with that?
falling out, or it's
Because I think
it's levels.
it's like I was
It's
going to say
levels.
that it's
It's
really
levels.
levels to it versus gentle versus old school. It really comes with the temperament of the child.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The
like
personality.
Does standing in the corner for 5 minutes help with this child?
Yeah.
Maybe
And it
it's
might
good
work with your oldest and not with your youngest.
Exactly.
So you have to parent. You have to
Because I know Anthony, we can count maybe on one hand how many times we've had to spank Junior when he was younger.
Right.
Because spanking did not he
wasn't a bad kid.
He wasn't. And if you say, Junior, why you do that? So there's no need to go for it. You know what I mean? But
Raising
then you
your
got
voice worked.
yes,
Right. And
or
that's
just a firm
different.
tone. You didn't even
Right.
have to raise your voice. Just a firm tone.
I also want to say this because, and I know it's gonna, raise some flags.
Whatever.
But there's a difference between raising white kids and raising black kids.
Absolutely.
There is.
And I think a lot of times people like to mix the two, and it's like,
No.
Well, our kids don't get the luxury, right? I mean, let's be clear. Like, we have to raise our kids to follow directions because when they don't, it can be their life.
Amy.
It can be their life. And I'm not trying to change the
That's so right. It can be life threatening.
It can change their life.
Man,
so
wow.
Andrew, Jaden, and Jalen, y'all gotta do what I tell y'all to do when I tell y'all to do it. I'm not telling you this.
And not with no attitude and back talking.
Right, and back talk. You in these streets.
Yes.
Let's take police out of it.
Yeah.
In these streets, you gotta be aware. And you got to be able to maneuver in a way because you don't get our children, I don't care what level, I don't care what, like if you're in poverty, lower middle class, upper class, it don't matter. Our skin dictates the way somebody respond to you.
Whether it's acknowledged
or not, it's in our subconscious. It's in the foundation of where we live, where we're at. Where we're at, it's in our foundation. I cannot have my kids, I cannot afford, and I say this with everything in me, I cannot afford for my kids to make the wrong decision at the wrong time.
That's right.
So I need my 4-year-old to do what I tell him to do when I tell him to do it.
Right.
Because if he don't, it could change his life later on.
Yeah.
I'm not.
This is where balance.
Not even talking. It's police and
Everything,
streets.
And the streets, it's just anything.
It's circumference
It's
show.
anything. It could be our next door neighbor who's never, we're in Georgia,
It
right?
could be your teachers, the
It could be the
principals. They all put
principals, yes.
their file follows them whether they're in school or whether they're in jail or whether they're in prison. It doesn't matter. If your child is labeled as a disruptive, disorderly child, there are notes on their file.
That's a file.
So we got to get. That's where we always talk about the balance because that's where partnership, whether it be step parent, biological parent, or uncle, grandmother, grandfather, whoever. This is where
the village
balance in the village comes in at, because what she says, go. And if they don't listen, I'm here to reinforce what she says.
Right.
But when you're on your own as a single mother, and this is what these guys who don't understand the importance of being a stepdad or a mentor or just to be a father to a child, period, that presence. When that mother is on her own trying to enforce, especially the rules against a little boy, there's going to come a time in that little boy's life where he's going to realize, my mom can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't respect her authority. It's about the sheer, my muscles are starting to come in.
Yeah.
I'm starting to become bigger than her.
Them kahunas is strapping.
Voice is getting deeper.
You know what's crazy though, Jay? Here's what's crazy. To the point that you bringing up, I read a book. Like, I read a lot anyway.
Right.
But as Keon was growing up, he had to be about probably 6 years old. I read a book by a well-known author, and he's a well-known boys mentor as well.
Gotcha.
But he kind of outlined, and I probably took it more literal than I should have.
It made sense.
It made sense, but he basically outlined the places in a young man's life where he will buck whatever system he's in. So he put certain ages. I can't remember the specific ages, but it might have been like 6, 12, and 17. This young man is going to buck. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was, okay.
Every time they came around.
So when that show up, I'm going to make sure I smash it.
With a hammer.
Unfortunately, we smash ants with sledgehammers, meaning we're going to go all the way and we're going to make sure it don't come back around in no type of way. You know what I'm saying? So what I was doing was, without balance, looking for the signs of that system bucking, and I was going to make sure when it came, I resolved it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So what happened with that was, I could be a little hands-on. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about boundaries. I could be very hands-on when, hey, you know, I'm good for snatching up. Or you know what I'm saying? But I remember one day, this boy, what'd he do? This boy, it had something to do with the TV, and back then our house was a little bit less we was in process still, so I had a cable cord going across the room to the TV. You know what I'm saying?
In process.
All right, we was in process. You know what I'm saying? So the cable cord was going across to the TV, and I remember he came downstairs. We was on our way to church. It was a Sunday morning. It was beautiful, and I remember he came downstairs and kicked the cord. At this point, he like 12, so I'm already on alert because we had one of them ages. You know what I'm saying? So he kicked the cord, and I said, hey man, you gonna put it back? And he looked at me and kept walking.
Oh Lord.
I run over.
He said, that's the age.
That's it. That's my green light. Charge. I ran over to this boy. I grabbed this boy up and I put him on the wall, wiped the wall with him a little bit. Good for wiping the wall. Boom, boom, boom. But then I heard loud and clear. Man, and it changed me forever. Yeah. I heard loud and clear. Your place is not to beat on him. Your place is to train him. That's right. I heard it loud and clear. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Your place is to train him. So from that day on, I said, I'm going to train the mess out of this boy. Right. When we got back, I wrote down a curriculum called Basic Man Training.
Right.
Wow.
And I got a whole curriculum for real.
He does.
And it was everything from handyman to cook to how you deal with, how you love on your mom, how you love on your sisters, how you love on women in your life. I'm for real. It's a real
That's
curriculum.
powerful,
It's called Basic Man Training. And then it had consequences with it.
Absolutely.
You do this? Nah. We called it back to the basics. You know what I'm saying? You do this, we back to the basics. And if we go back to the basics, son, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna have to be in school uniform every day, all day long. We back to the basics. You got on khakis and the white button-up shirt and dress shoes all day until you go to sleep. You gotta earn an edge up. You want a haircut? You gotta earn your haircut.
That's real.
You want to sleep on a mattress? You have to earn your mattress.
my God.
Now this is what happened with that.
That was too far.
He had testing in the morning. She said, "Babe, he has milestones in the morning.
Milestones in the
He
morning.
needs a mattress."
She said,
"But
put the mattress
put
back
the
on."
mattress back."
I'm there. Oh my God.
Go get your mattress.
But you know, that's that military. That's that military. But I heard that day for real, man, that my place as a step parent was to train him in the way.
And
That's
I
not
can
just
attest.
parent. That's parent.
That's across period.
Yeah.
I can attest when that change happened in him, there was a change that happened in my son.
There you
Like
go.
legit. Like the way that he responded to training, we were just like,
Okay.
oh, snaps.
This
like,
works.
This works. You know,
The
like,
government did something right.
like legit.
The Air Force
it
got
was
it
like
right.
he blossomed.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
for
saying?
real.
Like
Yeah.
it was almost like
He thrived in the
he
structure.
thrived. He needed the structure. He's a very to-do
this
lister.
day.
He's very studious.
Yeah.
He's very, you know what I'm saying? Like he's a calculator.
Absolutely.
He's
So really, God put that in me.
You
Saying,
know?
hey,
Right.
that's not his makeup.
Right, he don't.
This is his
he
makeup.
Don't thrive off this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This is how he'll thrive.
This is how he'll thrive,
Man, that's
and it
so-
changed everything in him.
Wow.
That's amazing. But that's called just flat out, like I say, first of all, listen to God.
Yeah.
You know, just listening to that voice inside of you. But two, that's just being a man.
Mm-hmm.
See, we all learn differently.
Mm-hmm.
Every last one of us have a different way of learning in this room.
Mm-hmm.
How you reach me, like I'm big on not yelling at me.
Mm-hmm.
You yell at me, you get a totally different reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You just come to me and talk to me like I'm a civil human being.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized that our children are the same exact way. I can yell at Drew and he'll react totally different than if I was to yell at Jaden.
Mm.
Jaden does not like for his dad to yell at him.
Mm.
He gets that from me.
Yeah.
Amani shuts all the way down.
Mm.
With
So
yelling.
I realized that, but with Drew, he's a military guy. He ended up going to the military, going to the Air Force. And so with me yelling at him, and again, it wasn't constant. We weren't abusing and yelling at our kids constantly. I rarely had to yell at any of them because we have good kids.
Mm.
Yeah.
But in those times where I did have to raise my voice at him, he responded.
That's right.
He responded. He needed my guidance. He needed my love. He needed everything that I came to offer him to make him the man that he is today.
That's it.
When you taking him and you roughing him up, because I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it.
Yeah.
We've all reacted. And we, first before thinking.
Yeah.
That's a part of our basic training.
That's it.
Right.
Because as men, as fathers, as mothers, we have to train. We have to get trained too.
We do.
Yeah.
And some of us don't have a background. Some of us don't have the equipment or wasn't raised a certain way to even be equipped to train. That's where you rely on prayer.
Right. Or to be gentle.
Right,
You know what I mean?
gentle,
Like,
yeah,
some of us don't come from that.
I didn't come from that.
I did.
struggle with it.
My dad was very, very,
Yeah.
oh man. Like, it took, again, my dad to raise me.
Yeah.
I could not be raised by Earl
Yeah.
or his family. And I'm talking about the men.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were doing stuff in the streets. They were selling dope. Like, they was doing a lot of. It took for me to learn from a heart, because I tell Amy all the time. I say I have the mind of a Pablo Escobar. The way I think, the way I move, my coldness sometimes, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
She helps me with that. She brings it to my attention. Jay, you being cold.
Mm-hmm.
My aggressiveness, I got my partner Shannon. He called me. He called me AB, about business. Everything is about business with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I had never had Lloyd Coleman to cultivate certain things out of me,
Mm-hmm.
I would be a menace.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Jason's can be cold.
I would be a menace.
It's a cold. It's a coldness that is not. It's not normal for me. Like I don't know. I'm like harsh, but I ain't cold.
Right.
Yeah, like you know, you
There's
still feel some love. Like
Right.
you know, I can yell at my kids. You still know that my mama love me.
Right.
You know.
I'm different when it comes to that.
Yeah, Jason has a
I always
switch.
tell people, I say my anger. I say I try to stay away from anger.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want him to. Yeah, the kids with that. With our children, don't bring that to my children. Whatever that is,
and it's in there. But
Yeah,
and
I'd be
I've done it maybe a couple times in my life, and I had to come back and apologize because that side of me, he's witnessed it. He witnessed it when we was young. Like, a fight ain't a fight with me. Once it becomes a fight, I'm trying to kill you.
But you know what, Jay? The fact that you said you can come back around and apologize to your child, that makes a major
That's
difference,
Lloyd
man.
Coleman.
Yeah.
Like, just for giving a child the respect of an apology
absolutely.
changes the complete narrative
Absolutely.
of
Waiting on
parenting.
apology.
You know what I'm saying? But you know what?
But that's real though.
No, for real though.
Corinne,
Even as an adult though.
I apologize.
Even as an adult though.
Yeah.
When my mother, you know, my mom can be very passionate. You know what I'm saying?
Aggressive,
and so you know, sometimes she can respond very quickly. And you know, I had to kind of bring some things to her attention. You know what I'm saying? And when I did, now I'm talking about this is 43-year-old me. This is me now. This is me now.
Wow.
I brought some things to her attention, and this is me now as an adult. Wow. She hit me and said, "I apologize for that."
Yeah.
And I said,
and it means
and
something.
it was like
it reached back to the.
It was like when she did that, it was a real thing, and I felt it for real. I was like, wow. So all that I was feeling like, man, you can't, you know what I'm saying? You put me on, it was just like, I apologize. I said, wow.
And it dissipates.
A parent's apology. An apology from a parent.
Yo, that's a whole nother
can
show.
heal. For real.
Yeah, for real it is.
We need that
can
show.
heal.
That show got to come.
That show gotta come.
Hey, look, this a whole therapy session for real.
Go ahead. And been trying to jump in for the pad. I'm like,
No,
get
I
it
haven't.
out, babe.
I'm good.
Yes, you have.
I'm good.
No, man, speak your mind. No. I'm just saying this is a therapy session, man.
We need that
because
show.
It's so much stuff going on in grown folks' lives,
Man, what?
and we pass that stuff on our children.
Yeah, because we were just talking about.
part.
I think it was the three of us, the ladies. We were talking about the baby boomer generation. That there was something interesting happening during that time
in that
because a lot of the parents in that age, they all have they all act very similarly from all different parts of the world. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and it's like, really?
I think something's going on with the Gen Z generation.
Because, I mean, we can say that for every generation,
because
though.
they all act very
but
similar.
the baby boomer generations are parents, and if the way we were raised.
That's the 60s, right? So that's
my mom was born in 1957.
Mine was mid-50s.
Mine was
I'm
62.
never gonna. My mom passed away now, but even when I tried to bring to her like what I felt she did to me. Who gonna apologize to me? That's how she got defensive, and it was like, all right.
Let it go.
Wow.
Yeah, like, so it was defensive.
That's real, though.
It was
Hi,
like,
bro.
That's what I said. That's
But
another show.
Let me say this about her mother. Her mother might not have physically came out of her mouth and said, "I'm sorry," but she had her ways of apologizing without saying the word.
Nah, we don't accept that. An apology without an apology, it's a real thing.
But that's like my mom. She didn't physically say the words "I love you."
Right.
It was
But you
just
felt it.
I knew it
You knew
because
she
of
loved
how
you.
she took care of me.
That's different.
So again, I feel like it's
That's
different.
It's different.
That's different.
I feel
how
like
you feeling?
That's
You
not
quiet
the
over
same.
here. How you feeling about the parenting
And apologies.
and apologies? How do you feel?
I feel like they come from a time that's not too far removed from a lot of bondage. So they had to be very guarded.
Yeah. Oh man.
That makes sense.
And it was passed down.
That makes sense.
You know, I feel like 80s babies, like I've had to apologize to my children as well. There's, you know, I'm big on family meetings, and they probably hate it. They'll learn to appreciate it.
They will.
You know,
and they're going to do it, and they're going to do it in their home.
Yeah,
exactly. But, you know, putting hands on the kids and different things like that, there was times where I had to say, listen, I never want you guys to do what I say out of fear.
Right.
I want you guys to do what I say because you trust that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
However, there was a piece of me that raised them when if I see you being super passive, I'm going to address it strong, because if you start it here, then, you know, I'm always thinking about when you're in class and in the future. So like what Amy was talking about as far as, you know, it's like not just with the cops, but just life, period. Don't be that passive person because I know this world and it's going to eat you up, and you're my baby. I don't want that to be a story. So, but I'm also mindful that whatever you fear, you're going to attract.
Yeah.
So trying to, it's almost like you go crazy.
Right.
Because I'm trying to raise you not out of fear, but fighting the temptation to get into fear.
Yeah. Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, you know, the 80s babies got the better part of it because they had this mentality, just speaking for myself, I had this mentality, I'm not going to do what was done to me.
Yeah.
So with my mom, and one of the strongest women I know.
Yeah, most definitely.
Between her and, you know, Creflo coming in, neither one of them are gentle people. You know, my mom was, you're not going to be no punk. And then when he came into my life, it was very anal, very
it was that man
precise. It was the man training. And it wasn't always like that, but he understood the phases like you spoke of. So I remember one time I left a Bible in the dome, right? And I forgot. But one of the vision keepers got it and brought it to him, and he's like, doggone it. He's trying to teach me to pay attention to details and to own responsibility, accept responsibility when I've done something, and to get away from excuses. So when we get to the house, Aunt, where's Taffy Bible at? Oh, I had put it in the car.
Lie automatically.
Immediate lie. He's like, and he got the, you say what? I put it in the thing. It should be in the car. Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Mike should know where it is. Boom, 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 boom. I promise you, I promise you, and I'm going there.
Oh, man.
Next thing I knew, man, I'm on the wall like, I'm like
wiping the wall.
At the same time,
That was more about the lie.
Wiping the wall.
Right.
It was.
That was about the lie.
It was about the lie. It was about accepting
We
responsibility.
didn't get to the lesson.
All these
It was
excuses.
about the lie.
You've been doing this too much.
Right.
I've already did the gentle part or the nice
That's
part
right.
of saying it to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Now, little Negro.
I'm gonna
wipe the wall.
And the cook is there, the driver's there, the girls are there, everybody's there, and I'm up on the wall. So my automatic response is, man, take me home, bro.
Right.
That's that step up parent.
Yeah.
Step up
Like,
parent
man,
privilege.
take me home, you know.
Hey,
Parent privilege.
Yeah,
That's the
take me
privilege
home.
you talked about and kicked in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I look back on it, I do the same thing with my kids because it's like I know that excuses are like nails used to build houses of failure. So stop giving me these excuses. It's cool when you're 6, 7, 8, but we're at a new phase now. You're 12, 13, 14 years old.
Right.
The lessons you were talking about. I remember one of the lessons that I gave Junior was he was going to his mom's house for the summer, and he was supposed to come back during the school year. I said, all right, son, while you're there, whatever amount of money you save up, I'll match it
Wow.
for your school clothes.
Wow.
And then you gave him, you can cut grass or
Cut grass. I bought
To get your money up.
break leaves or
I
something.
bought all the equipment. Well, I need the equipment anyway.
Right.
You can use this.
Yeah, I benefit from it too.
Right,
You know, but it was like one of those things where it was like, cool. So he came back. and didn't have a dime. And I'm like, dang.
Oh.
And we always take the kids school shopping. It's like a big deal,
Yeah.
right? I got the picture. Trail was fresh.
Oh Lord.
Riley was fresh. And Trail,
Precious.
all of them was fresh.
Right.
Precious, Trail, Shane, Riley. All of them was fresh. And we took, all right, let's do the first day picture. Here in a piece like this. You know I'm about to leave, right?
It was that face like,
yeah, that look, I'm done. Shortly after that. So that
Wow.
lesson didn't work in that moment
Wow.
because I guess it was premature. But you asked me, what do I think about the whole asking for apology? Sometimes when you apologize to a kid, they don't have the capacity to be able to accept it.
Yeah.
The
Oh
maturity
yeah, definitely.
to be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
accept it in that moment. So you would have to bring it up. You remember I apologized for that, but not only did I apologize, but I fixed the behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still holding on to, oh, I remember this and I remember that. And I'm like, okay, well, how do we move upward and onward from that? I can't change that. I can only change who I am now
Yeah.
and what I do now. So, I think it's different strokes, different folks, but
It's no
those
no
60s
blanket parenting.
right.
It is.
I think to that point, as parents and people who are becoming parents and all of that stuff, I think it's an important maybe takeaway to get into the habit of communicating with your child in the way of where apology is natural.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What I mean by that is taking accountability
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
things that may have
On your stuff.
took your child out they hookup.
Yeah.
So now, it's not really a maturity thing at that point. It's just now your child understands my parent respects me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
understand that they're
mess up.
flawed.
Right.
As
There you go.
parents,
There it
we're
is.
Right.
flawed.
Still trying to figure it
And
out.
we're
Still
still
trying to figure it
trying.
out.
Like
Right.
we don't know everything,
not
but we
perfect.
have been here
Right.
a long time. Longer.
It's almost as if they wait for you to make a mistake so they could go,
Oh my God! Here, case in point. All right. So, my son bought me some AirPods. Right.
Such a good kid, man. Such a good dude, man.
Son. Right. So they fell out of my. I don't know if they fell out of my pocket, my whatever. They ended up at. I searched them. They were at QT gas station. Okay.
Done data.
Who knows how long? I don't know how long they were there. So I was just like, bump it, chalk it up as a loss. So I told my son, I lost the AirPods.
Oh man.
So my son sends me a screenshot and he bought new ones.
Immediately.
Said, Mom, they'll be there Monday.
Immediately.
Wow.
That was
So here comes Raylan. Oh, so you lose your AirPods and then you just get some more?
she must have lost some AirPods.
No, I told her she can't get AirPods because I'm afraid she's going to lose them.
them.
Wow.
So she like, oh, you lost?
Oh, but you can lose AirPods and then get more.
In our generation, if you say that, if I was to say
It would have been like,
that,
pop, pop.
Right. Your mouth.
oh,
is
that's
burning.
a cute one.
Yeah.
Pop, pop.
Right. What?
You know, my mama been like, my mama had a strategy to the backhand, and I call it the backhand. Quiet, and it's almost like you could.
Feel it coming. Time. You put a
5,
watch on.
4, 3, 2.
Pop.
Wham! Lights, bright light. I can't. My eyes are open, but all I see is light, and it's not the daylight.
Oh.
So it got to the point where I'm just.
I'm blind.
I couldn't hit her back, so I would just act like it. Pop!
It don't hurt.
Oh my God. So you would eat it?
I would eat it.
No.
You know who started doing that?
Oh my God.
Trail.
Oh, that'll
And it
drive
would
you. That will
infuriate me. And I'm
drive
like,
you somewhere.
Is today the day?
The
Whole time I'm thinking,
The day
don't
for
provoke the
what,
children,
man?
don't provoke the children, don't provoke the children. But I'm like, but Lord, look at him.
Look at the provoking that's happening to me.
So Constance in that moment would be my, you know what I'm saying? Babe,
all good,
babe. And so I'm like, go ahead in your room, big dog. Go.
I'm about to check out.
But I'm just, I ain't cut you off, son. Go ahead, finish what you gonna say. Never mind, cause you ain't gonna listen. Watch your mouth, son. You know.
Just go ahead and exit, man.
It was just one of them things, man, where it's like the whole gentle parenting and old school parenting, man. You do what you were exposed to.
Yeah.
Until you're exposed to something different.
Until you're exposed to something
But usually
different.
your kids present that as something different. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, I can't roll with him like that. All right. So
And
then you go, then you may have a village of people that you talk to and be like, hey, so how did you, just to gain some sort of wisdom of how to move.
Yeah, you learn along the way.
Like you're not just out of you pulling stuff out the sky as you move it until you see something that presents differently. Then you got to shift.
Yeah.
My baby mama would call me and say, he don't move with me like he moved with you. He's very disrespectful to me. I said, disrespectful how? And I would always check him about that, because no matter what me and her had going on, I didn't bring that into the harmony I was trying to create.
Right.
So it's like, if I hear that you disrespecting your mother, it's going to be an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I had to look at it, and he don't do that to Constance. He don't do that to me. He don't even suck his teeth with me.
Right.
Or her. Why is that? And I'm hearing all of these other things
balance
about he's doing this and he talked back, and I'm like, you got to be talking about somebody else. So it finally came to the conclusion I had to tell her, I don't leave room for the disrespect. So it's
big
like
difference.
I'm not trying to be his friend. I'm his parent.
Right.
And if you understand the purpose of the parental role, you won't abuse it.
Yeah.
But if you feel like there's some guilt and I got to make up and I got to pick up, see, now you're trying to be their buddy.
Yeah.
And there's a season for that, but you're way premature.
No, it's definitely season.
Like, he's grown, he's out the house. Now is the time for us to build that friendship.
And that's exactly what I told Keon. I said, all right, son, you getting ready to leave. Now we're transitioning from parent to coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I will coach you through these scenarios that we facing. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually you're going to become my best friend. You know what I'm saying? But we build to it, man.
But you're going to start off like that. See, what you have there is a boyfriend.
Well, I would hope. You know what? I would hope we become best friends.
Boyfriend.
I can't say just automatically, just on his behalf, we will become best friends. I would say at that point he will become my best friend. You know what I'm saying? Because he's, he's my boy. He living his best life.
But I think as far as, step parents and, how we relate to our children, I think I agree with Jason. Just ensuring that there is your child should not feel like you're a step parent. I think that would be the determining factor to be able to say, am I really being a great step parent? If my child doesn't feel like I'm a step parent, then I'm being a great step.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? A great step parent. So I would say that would be the best. What do y'all think?
I agree.
I agree.
I think it's a natural transition when it goes from being called your first name to being called mom or dad.
It is a natural transition.
And that's the key right there.
And if that happens, when that happens,
I don't think they ever called her Constance.
Right.
Until they got around their mom.
Right.
So and it was just
respect.
Well, not just the respect, but it was so that you know who I'm talking to.
Right.
Trail was different. Trail be like, hey mom, he ain't care about none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it was a lot, but
yeah, man.
All right, guys, this has been another great conversation.
Absolutely.
Man, y'all make sure y'all following us on all social media platforms. Join the family. Enjoy the journey. Join the journey.
Join the journey.
Join the journey.
The whole journey, which is on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Not just these snippets we put out there. Get the context.
Get the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. See y'all soon.
Peace.